here in Los Angeles recently, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put two dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Tamir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coons. The white man will go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
Queen.
sense.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
I'm
Queen.
getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us.
Hello, Grand Rising, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel or the channels. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click the notification bells and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Please don't come in here whining and complaining because I really don't care. This is not the HR department. I'm not here to let you voice your grievances, okay? You can take that somewhere else, exit stage left. For those of you who do subscribe to the channel, please be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr._A_Shakur, on TikTok at Dr. A Shakur, and Twitter at TheGoddess27. All right. Hello, Aboriginal woman, Mr. Hotel, Juju B's in the house, Leo Lion, Queen of Mona Huey, Pearly. Okay, Christine, I see you, beloved. Nicole. Okay, Tiana, that crazy beach Aries, Courtney J. Okay, Eileen, Yusuf is in the house, Miss Cece, Kyle B, Orgile, okay, Terry Lee King, hey beloved, James Allen, Truth Montage, Kenyetta, Jeff ATL, Stacy, Tia, Deronda. Okay, it's Felicia, it's in the house. Let's get into it. Juju said the queen is queening, honey. Thank you. You know I tried. Okay, hey, Black Love 777, Emperor Rex. Chris B is in the house. KX, Dragon Lily, Howard. Okay, Lillian, I see you. Wavy though said, Queen, it's a few stories from Florida I need to send you. Send them, beloved. Please send them. J Love the Queen. I haven't seen you in a minute. Brianna. Okay, shout out to everyone in here. I see the nefarious Stoney Jackson up in here. Not Stoney Jackson. That one always gets me. Okay, Leo Lion, Queen Sam is in the house. Monica, Nicole. Shout out to everyone in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen. Let's get into it. So I have so much news. I'm going to have to do 2 lives today because it's just too much. Okay, but I have to get this out. I see you, Jag and Lily. Jay Great. Okay, James Allen. So listen, let me tell you all about this very eventful weekend that I did have, in fact. First is, hey, Mahogany. First things first. So Felicia said, I've been missing the lives from the beginning, not today, okay? And I wasn't that late today. I tried my hardest to be on time, people, but you know, all these receipts gathering I have to do. But anyway, listen to this. So I had a video last week that went viral. It was my video about the Nashville shooter, Audrey Hale. Well, sadly, TikTok took down my video, honey. They took it on down, and I had over 800,000 views on that video. They actually took it down twice. The first time they took it down, it was at over 600,000. They said it was for weapons. I guess because I showed the weapon that, you know, that was used or whatever, but many people did. So then it was put back up like in 15 minutes after I appealed it. They put it back up real quick. But then about an hour and a half later, they took it down again, and it was at over 800,000. It probably the last time I had checked it, it was at over 800,000. So by the time they took it down, honey, it could have been up to 1 million. I don't know. But I said all that to say, Queen, you punch in late again. We docking your face. Heads broad flat hour. Please don't dock my pay, beloved. I need all of them coins. Miss Hotel said they stay hating on the Queen, Charlie. Yes, they do. But here's what I believe it was. So for them to take it down twice, that means that people were flagging the video. And the people that were flagging it were the people that were, quite frankly, upset, I do believe, because I called this person who committed this heinous act, I called them a thug, a monster, and a devil. Now, you see, some people, and those would be racist, they don't like you saying such things because they always want to blame it on mental health issues and there was some problem or whatever. And that's all fine, but they took it down. But you know, the Queen will go viral again, honey, because y'all know how I do. So anyway, with that all being said, I have some more important news about that situation that they're not talking about in the mainstream media. They're not talking about it. I've heard no mention of it. But we're going to get into that. But another thing I want to speak about is over the weekend, someone posted on Twitter a video clip of Bussy Reek, basically saying that the tether class, as he calls them, that, they need to get some straightening, and saying that all these people are going in on them, not just him. He said even some of their own people are going in on them. I don't know if this is true, but that's just what he said. But he also said something about they better do something before we start blasting and shrapnel and all this stuff, right? Now, that's the part of the clip that I heard. So I said, wait a minute. Now, I know Bussy Reek hasn't lost his ever-loving mind, has he? But it wasn't far-fetched to me to think that he would make a threat, because he's made threats before. Okay. So anyway, I posted that. I retweeted it. And so then the Bussy Reekians came for me, honey. That Bussy Reekian said, oh, that's not true. That's not what he said. You're sensationalizing the news. And they had a lot to say. They said that's not the whole video. It's context and everything and all that. So I said, okay, the Bussy Reekians are clearly saying this isn't exactly what was said. And I haven't watched his entire Instagram live video, so let me go watch it. And so I went back and I watched the video, and in fact, he said that, but what he did was, I believe that he caught himself, and so he cleaned it up real quick. He said, when we start verbally blasting them. He said something like that, but he made it as though he was speaking verbally and not physically doing these things that he previously said. So with that all being said, I'm not one to ever paint false narratives. So I gladly removed the video and I issued a statement. And I basically said something along the lines of, though I don't agree with his divisive BS, I'm not one to paint narratives. After watching the entire video, I do see that he didn't really make a threat. So I've removed the video and I apologize for the misleading information. Well, I did that because I have something called journalistic integrity. I've recanted a story once before. When I first got on YouTube, I did a story about a young man that was shot, a Latino man who was shot in Raleigh, North Carolina by the police, and the police said that he had a gun. Now, when I watched the video several times, I didn't see a gun in the man's hand, but the wanton supremacists were saying, oh, he had a gun, he had a gun. You need to look at the video on something larger than your cell phone. Well, I was looking at it on my cell phone, truly. And so after watching the video and zooming in, he did have a gun. So I removed that video and I came back and recanted. Okay, and apologize for the misleading information. You see, that's what you do when you're an honest person and you're a person who doesn't want to paint false narratives, whether you like the individual or not. So that's what I did. But I said all that to say this. What I noticed, what that showed me was that the Bussy Ricans, they pay attention to what the Queen is saying, just as well as they pay attention to what Taharka is saying, Brandon, Michi, and anyone else who opposes Bussy Rick. But the thing is this. They were so quick to come and point out that that was not what he said. That's not what he said. That's not true. You're sensationalizing it. You don't have the whole story. Stoney Jackson says, true class queen. Thank you, beloved. I tried. And so they were so quick to point that out. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out to you is because what they haven't ever pointed out is any information or evidence to debunk all those receipts that Taharka continues to drop. They've never come at Taharka disputing anything that he said or shown. They've never come to me with any of the other evidence that I've said or shown. I even offered them $500 to debunk any of my or Taharka's receipts. Taharka has offered them money. There was one of Taharka's subscribers who offered them over $1,000 to debunk anything. They said nothing. They didn't even respond. You heard nary a whisper. So I'm saying this. That just goes to show that these people are not as stupid as they pretend to be. They absolutely know that those receipts are accurate, factual, and true. Because if they thought they were false, they would have come and said something just like they said something about that video clip. And let me also say that that video clip was not initially tweeted by me. I just simply retweeted what someone else had already tweeted. Okay. But as I said, once I checked it, I took it down. But my whole thing is, honey, any receipts that I have dropped, any that Taharka has dropped, they've not debunked it or said anything about those. And I find it interesting because that just lets me know and should let all of you know that they know darn well everything being said is the truth, because they can quickly point out something that's not actually factual. But they didn't say anything about all that other stuff. Okay. I just want y'all to pay attention. All right. So with that all being said, and moderators, let me just remind you, if anyone comes in here in the chat being disrespectful, vulgar, makes any threats, is said anything racist, whether it's about, whether they're being racist towards us or other people, you know what to do. Block them. Also, if anyone comes in here talking crazy, right? Just blatantly being disrespectful or whatever, y'all know what to do. Bussy Rick always going live in the wee hours in the morning, says Deronda. Donate to the monthly Bussy Rick fund. Foundation. Is that crazy? You all are something else. You will get blocked, period, if you talking crazy. That's right, Mr. Hotel. You better tell them. Okay. Real Talk BDTV says, hey, Queen, I'm from Germany. All right. Shout out to you, beloved. We got Germany in the house. Terry Hinn said it's blocking time. Okay. Kidarian said, them fraudulent busted agent disciples at it again, huh? You know how they do, beloved. Okay. So now with that all being said, let's get into the topic of discussion. First thing I want to talk about, I'm going to show you all this video that I thought was so satisfying. I absolutely loved it. Now, you all know the Queen doesn't condone violence unless you're defending yourself. But sometimes it's poetic justice. Pay attention. So do you all remember the story that I did about Representative Paul Sherrill? Representative Paul Sherrill said that he wanted to take people back to lynching as a form of capital punishment. You should be hung from a tree, is what he said. Well, let's see what happened to him. Now, I did remove the audio from this video. It really wasn't anyone saying anything. It was just, a bunch of shouting and yelling. But the reason I removed the audio is because there was a song, the song I Got 5 on it, which was very appropriate for this video as far as I'm concerned. That song was playing and I don't want any trouble out of YouTube. So I removed the audio, but I want you all to see this because let me tell y'all something. Generation Z is not playing. Generation Z is not going to put up with some of the BS that these people are out here trying to put up with, make us put up with. Okay, so it is a couple of young Caucasian males. Okay, they may be teenagers. They look like teenagers in high school. It is a couple of Caucasian males and a black male teenager, and they all wanted to give Paul Sherrill that smoke for what he said. And he had to cower behind the police as they escorted him out of the building. Honey, I thought it was hilarious. So let me just show that clip. Pay attention. Brad, Chad, and Tyrone all had the smoke for him. He had to have those. He tried to hide behind the police, honey. I thought that was hilarious. Okay, let's look at it one more time. Let's look at it one more time. Now he looked as though he was hanging on to that officer for dear life. And I find it all very interesting. I find it absolutely very interesting. So here's the thing. You know, they have called for him to resign and all of that, as they should. As they should. The Prince of Paraphernalia said, what's his address? I haven't a clue, beloved. But, you know, here's the thing. This is part of the reason why they want to get rid of critical race theory. This is part of the reason. I want you all to pay attention. You know, because we do have some of these teenagers that don't look like us that are racist because they've been taught that by their parents and other family members. You know, the ones that go to school dressed as Klansmen and all of that. The ones who take the black children in the locker rooms and throw bananas at them and act as though they're having mock slave auctions and all those things. We have some of those. Those come from their parents who teach them those things, as far as I'm concerned. But what I have been seeing on TikTok is there are also a lot of these Caucasian children, teenagers specifically, that will out their parents for saying racist things and trying to indoctrinate them to be racist. You see, they're not with it. They have their own minds and they think for themselves at these young ages. And they speak out against these things. There's many of them that do. And so with that all being said, this is why they don't want critical race theory being taught. This is another reason, because some of these young people are not going to have it. Some of these young people know the history. And when they see the history and the hate and the vitriol and the heinous and depraved acts, the savagery, when they see it, they don't want any part of it. They don't want any part of it because they have black friends that they care about, that they love, that they share things with. Okay. And so they don't want to hear that and they're not going to go for it. So that's another reason why they want to get rid of critical race theory, because they want to continue doing what they have been doing all along. And they don't want anyone to oppose them, specifically not their youth. They don't want their youth because they want the legacy of wanting supremacy to continue to fester so that it is here far into the future. They're bringing back Jim Crow in Mississippi and all of that. And speaking of Jim Crow in Mississippi, you know, all of those tornadoes they had down there in Mississippi, all of the destruction and all of that stuff, that was not a coincidence. You know, the Most High is not pleased with many a thing that is happening. Okay, the Most High is not pleased with how many things are happening, and there is going to be wrath upon the land. Okay, just as I showed you days ago in Brazil when they were sitting there mocking Jesus and they had that depiction of Satan in that parade and they thought it was all fun and games. And then you see the mudslides and all of the disaster that happened there. The Most High is not pleased. You cannot keep playing with God. God will not be mocked. You can't keep playing with God's children. You can't keep doing it and thinking it's going to be okay. Y'all not taking us back to slavery or Jim Crow. You can try, but it's not going to happen. And you see, they know what is to come in the days ahead and the years ahead. With that all being said, they're clinging on for dear life to keep this legacy and this system of injustice, racial oppression, ethnic intimidation, and Jim Crow. They're trying to hold on to that, onto wanton supremacy. But some of these young people of Generation Z, they're not trying to hear it. Okay, just like they had the smoke for Representative Paul Sherrill, they have the smoke for many of these people, and they know it. All right, they know it. So anyway, with that all being said, let's move on to the next topic here. Let's talk about the little 2-year-old child who was found in the mouth of an alligator. Now, his mother was slain by the father. And I'm going to show a video in just a moment, but here's what they say. Father charged after missing 2-year-old boy found deleted in alligator's mouth. So they say a 2-year-old boy who went missing amid his mother's slaying has been found deceased in the jaws of an alligator in Florida. Now, Talon Mosley, age 2, and his 20-year-old mother, Pashun Jeffrey, were last seen by family members on Wednesday, March the 29th. The following day, loved ones requested an apartment manager check on the mother and son when they were unable to reach Jeffrey. This is according to St. Petersburg police. They say Jeffrey was found deceased in the apartment, with police noting that she had been stabbed multiple times. Talon remained missing until Friday, March the 31st, when he was found in an alligator's mouth about 10 miles from the apartment. So he likely threw this child in a lake. Police Chief Anthony Holloway said a detective shot and killed the alligator. He says, we didn't want to find him this way, but at least we could bring some closure to the family now. The father of the child, Thomas Mosley, is now facing 2 counts of first-degree murder. Mosley checked himself into a hospital with cuts on his arms and hands. Well, I've told you all before that when people stab someone repeatedly, they will likely sustain cuts and abrasions to their hands because of all the blood spatter, and then it makes the knife or the whatever tool they're using slippery, and so they end up cutting themselves as well. Now, so they go on to say he had these cuts on his arms and hands, and he remained in the hospital as of Friday, March the 31st. Mosley requested a lawyer and hasn't spoken to detectives, per the police chief. A medical examiner will determine his son's official cause of decease. So that's all very sad. All very sad. An innocent 2-year-old and his mother taken out, and they believe it was the father of the child. Now I'm going to play this video of this report on the situation.
Police chief saying just a little while ago, the body of little Talon Mosley was found here in the water in the mouth of an alligator at the park. Now, this 2-day search ended miles from where it first began at Talon and his mother's apartment. Talon and his mom, 20-year-old Passion Jeffrey, were last seen Wednesday evening. Passion was found dead in her St. Petersburg apartment yesterday afternoon. The chief tells us she was stabbed multiple times, already saying it was a very violent crime scene. The search for 2-year-old Talon spanned miles. St. Petersburg police say their investigation led them to the Dell Holmes Park, where they searched all day Friday.
That's all very sad. And I pronounce the mother's name as Pashun, but it's Passion. It's spelled Pashun. It looks like Pashun. But nevertheless, this is a sad story. Sad story. So he took out his own child and the child's mother. Some people are just clearly sick and heinous. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. I have another video to download. I'm going to let this download while I'm working on the next story. So let's talk about Audrey Hale. Audrey Hale is the Nashville shooter. And I found this information very interesting. Very interesting indeed. So we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it because I had to go dig up the receipts on this. Like I said, they're not talking about this in the mainstream media. That's what they're not doing. Okay, now that I got that squared away, let's get into it. And so now listen to this. How the Church of the Nashville shooting winds through history. Gender wars, church discipline, and the SBC, which is an sexual or sexual abuse study. So let's talk about it. So Nashville is a city infused by religion, as well as music and history. So when the tragedy like the school shooting at the Covenant School March the 25th occurred, connections ripple across well-known names and places. And in this case, also across some unknown history that makes things complicated to comprehend. You see, the Covenant School is affiliated with the Covenant Presbyterian Church, a Presbyterian church in America congregation situated in the Tony South side of Nashville, just down the road from Bluebird Cafe, one of the city's best-known live music venues. Now, the Covenant School is a small private Christian school enrolling about 200 students in preschool preschool through 6th grade. Tuition is about $16,000 per year, more expensive than a year of college at the University of Tennessee. And the school was founded in 2001. Now, Church Covenant and its denomination represent the more conservative side of Presbyterian life in America today. The PCA was formed in the 1970s as a breakaway group from the better-known Presbyterian Church USA, mainly over the ordination of women, which the PCA opposes. Now, they say, to the chagrin of some city leaders, it's the namesake of a document important to some conservative evangelicals who embrace a theology known as complementarianism. This theology teaches God created males and females for distinct roles in church and home, including allowing only men to be pastors. These beliefs are embedded in the Nashville Statement, orchestrated by a group called the Council of Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, which has strong ties to Southern Baptist Convention leadership, but also adopted by the PCA. Now, as I'm telling you this, I want you to keep in mind that the person who committed this shooting was transgender. That's important to remember as we discuss this. So the Nashville Statement and PCA doctrine also are against LGBTQ identity and practice. They're against it. Now, I want you to remember that Audrey Hale, this person went to this school. This person went to this school previously, was a former student. Now, in 2020, the PCA adopted a report on gender and sexuality that speaks of the sinfulness of homosexual and transgender desire, as well as conduct. The Covenant Church website, which is now disabled, explains that because many other such churches no longer believe in nor teach some of the basic truths of historic Christianity, we joyfully affirm our unity with those who believe in certain fundamentals of the Christian faith. Conflict has dogged Covenant Church in the past. They say in 2016, the church fired its founding pastor, Jim Bachman. They fired him after 25 years of service. The congregational conflict became a matter of concern for the denomination itself, which resulted in a church trial. The reasons for the dispute did not appear to include any kind of moral failure or financial mismanagement, but instead generalized leadership differences. Bachman's successor, is Pastor Chad Scruggs, who lost his daughter in the shooting, Hallie Scruggs. This is what he said. Now, it was Bachman who started the Covenant School on the congregation site on Redbud Hill, part of the land where the Battle of Nashville played out in 1864, a decisive battle in the U.S. Civil War. Later, much of that land would be owned by singer Amy Grant's great-grandfather. Now, here's the thing. Let me just skip past all this rigmarole. So they say in this mix of confusion, ABC 7 News in Nashville reported the leader of a transgender youth education organization took to social media a day after the shooting, suggesting religious schools like Covenant should be regulated. Eli Ehrlich is a transgender activist and co-founder of Trans Student Educational Resources, who claimed the Covenant School is a right-wing institution in which the shooter and other children and students were abused. So they're saying that Audrey Hale, who went to this school, was abused there. Now, as evidence of this abuse, Ehrlich pointed to a 2014 blog written by Oklahoma Baptist pastor Wade Burleson, who detailed how a leading layman in the Covenant Presbyterian Church, the man who designed the Covenant School logo with the Latin phrases Veritas Christo et Ecclesia, which means truth of Christ and the church, said this person was facing persecution from church leaders, whom he accused of covering up sexual abuse of minors by a deacon at the church. So they were abusing these children there. And again, like I said, they claimed that Audrey Hale was one of these children that was abused. This is not to make excuses for what Audrey Hale did, but this is just to give you some insight into the mind frame that Audrey Hale may have been in when this shooting was committed. Maybe this is why Audrey went to this particular school to commit this crime, is what I'm saying. Now, when it is known that Pastor Bachman and other church leaders were accused of mishandling the knowledge of this alleged child molester, who, because of his position, reportedly had free reign at the church and the school, and that it is also public record of the church that the church engaged in a long-running dispute with the church leader who sounded an alarm about the abuse, a man by the name of Austin Davis, who eventually was barred from attending the church because he spoke out about these child molestations that were going on. He was barred from even coming to the church. They wanted to sweep this under the rug. They wanted to cover it all up. Now, Audrey Hale likely knew this because this was going on at the time Audrey Hale was a student there. Now, in a twisted irony, church leaders portrayed Davis as a possible shooter. This is what they said about Davis. When he was bringing all of this stuff to surface years ago, they said, oh, he'll likely come and shoot up this school. Not thinking that possibly one of the children who were abused at that school and whose voice wasn't heard might someday, because of the trauma and psychological issues, come and do that, just that. Okay. And there was a threat to the congregation, according to the pastors, or they felt he was a threat. As it turns out, Davis was neither, but his reputation was ruined after he attempted to attend church as he had done for 18 years. Isn't that something? Now, Burleson says he was accosted by men with guns, separated from his wife and children, and threatened to be thrown in jail if he ever set foot on the property again. Even though the Nashville police were never called to the church property, the actions were taken by a private security team. The entire experience was very humiliating. According to Burleson, they say it took another 2 years for church leaders to even acknowledge the truth about the child molestation charges and to excommunicate the accused deacon. All this would come to have a substantial influence on the Southern Baptist Convention as well. Burleson explained that in the summer of 2007, when Covenant leadership became aware of the allegations of molestation against one of their church officers, he says, I stepped to the microphone at the Southern Baptist Convention and made a motion that a database should be developed containing the names of all Southern Baptist ministers who have been credibly accused of, personally confessed to, or legally been convicted of sexual harassment or abuse, and that such a database be accessible to Southern Baptist churches. Though I am not a Presbyterian, my motion was rooted in the knowledge that there is a tendency within religious dominations to conceal and cover up sexual abuse by church officers and ministers out of concern for the reputation of the church and not the traumatization of the victims. This is what Burleson said. And he added that Time magazine declared the failure of his motion one of the top 10 most underreported stories of the nation that year. It would take another 15 years for the SBC to adopt a motion calling for an investigation of mishandled knowledge of sexual abuse and why it was not possible to create a database of known sexual abusers in Southern Baptist churches. So they said they couldn't come up with a database. Why not? Why not? Because they wanted these perverts to remain anonymous. They didn't want to call them out. That's what it was. They didn't care about these children. They cared about their own reputations, the reputations of the church and school, and about these people who were committing these heinous acts being kept in, hidden in the closet. This motion was made and adopted at the Nashville Convention Center, just 8 miles away from Covenant Presbyterian Church. Now, if y'all don't think this is a perfect storm for Audrey Hale and anyone else who was treated as Audrey Hale supposedly was, to kind of lose it and have anger and vitriol to go to that school. But hold on, because it gets worse. Now listen to this. This person who was accused, let's talk about this person, because this person has political affiliations. New child abuse scandal hits Mike Huckabee. Republican White House hopeful their co-author molested an 11-year-old girl and escaped charges because of the statute of limitations. Now, this person is John Perry. You see, John Perry co-authored Mike Huckabee's 2008 campaign memoirs and has now been revealed to have molested children ages 11 and 14. That's who was excommunicated from this school. Police concluded that abuse had taken place, but they were alerted to it after the statute of limitations had kicked in. Now, that's very important to note. Why is that so important to note, you may ask? Well, that's because when they had these allegations against Bill Cosby, the statute of limitations had also passed. But because they wanted so desperately to take down Bill Cosby and destroy his legacy, well, they changed the laws. They changed the rules. You see, when the narrative doesn't fit, or when the law doesn't fit their narrative when it pertains to people who look like me, they will change those laws. That's all I'm saying. They will absolutely change those laws. So let's get into it. This is all so nefarious. This is all so nefarious. Y'all see why the queen is late to the throne sometimes? Because I'm out here gathering receipts and doing real research. Pay attention. Okay, I'm not just telling you everything you hear on the regular news. I'm always adding more information to it. And that's the important thing. Now listen to this. Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee was facing fresh controversy over links to a child abuser. The evangelical Christian politician's co-author was revealed to have been found by police to have molested a girl when she was 11 and continued the abuse for 3 whole years. John Perry, a prolific author who helped co-write the hit movie called The Vow, he was all up in Hollywood. That's what I want y'all to pay attention to. You see, they don't like for you to talk about these things on ScrewTube and many other platforms. They don't like for you to talk about these elite pedos, clearly of which he was one. Okay, he was not prosecuted. However, after all this that he did to those children, he was not prosecuted. He did it for years. It wasn't one time. He did it for a period of years. He likely groomed those children as well. But because the statute of limitations had passed by the time police became involved, he was not charged or convicted. Perry is the second associate of Huckabee to have been revealed as an abuser after Josh Dugard's abuse of his sisters was also disclosed. Perry told the Daily Mail online that the parties involved were reconciled and restored years ago, and that the investigation had been prompted by an individual who had a vendetta against his former church. So basically trying to say that they just came out and brought this up because they were mad at the church. So obviously Huckabee didn't think this needed to be discussed. Obviously Huckabee didn't have a problem or issue with the fact that this was swept under the rug so casually. Obviously, Mike Huckabee didn't care about those children and the traumatization that they experienced at the hands of this fool, okay? Perry. So they say documents uncovered by BuzzFeed News show that Nashville, Tennessee police investigated Perry in 2012. There is no suggestion Huckabee knew anything of the investigation into his co-author. Perry had earlier co-authored Huckabee's memoir about his failed 2008 bid for the GOP nomination. Perry reportedly copped to the abuse, so he admitted to it. See, this isn't just accusations. Perry actually admitted to doing these things. He said he did it. He copped to the abuse and was subsequently excommunicated from his church. His wife also left him, citing inappropriate marital conduct in the divorce proceedings. Huckabee in 2016, a 2016 nominee of the GOP nomination, was already weathering the storm brought on by another child abuse scandal. Seems like Huckabee doesn't have very good judgment and how he picks his friends and political affiliates. So goes on to say this person was tied to his presidential campaign before BuzzFeed ripped the lid off of court documents implicating his two-time co-author, Perry. An evangelical conservative campaigning to win the votes of Christians nationwide, Huckabee has defended the Duggar family of 19 kids and counting fame after it was revealed that their son Josh, a high-profile conservative activist, had molested several girls in his youth, two of whom were his own sisters. This is all so sick and clearly nefarious. I just want y'all to pay attention. This is how it goes down, honey. This is what they do. Josh Duggar underwent counseling for his offenses and was never charged in court. Counseling? I'm sorry. I don't think counseling works for people like this. I absolutely do not. I don't think there's any cure, remedy, or anything for that, nor rehabilitation. That's just what I think. That's my opinion. So they say he underwent counseling. They say no one needs to defend Josh's actions as a teenager. This is what Huckabee said of his actions on Facebook last month, adding that, but the fact that he confessed his sins to those he harmed, sought help, and has gone forward to live a responsible life as an adult is testament to his authenticity and humility. Well, here's the thing. How does anyone know whether or not he continued to do these things? Maybe he continued and just didn't get caught. How does anyone know that? How do you vouch for someone who has done such things? Based on the timeline laid out by BuzzFeed, Perry's misdeeds did not come to legal authorities' attention until 2012, although his church became aware of the alleged abuse sometime between 2008 and 2010. So the church knew about this. That's all I'm saying. They clearly knew about it years prior to the police being informed. It's unclear exactly when they took place. Perry told Daily Mail Online, says, I don't have anything to say for the record, but will tell you that the person behind it has been pursuing a vendetta against his former church for years, and this story is one of the means he has used. So blaming the person who spoke out, that's what that is. And don't forget that the person who initially spoke out was kicked out of the church and banned from the property and demonized and vilified, and they even alluded to the fact that he would possibly come back and shoot up the place one day. Having failed there, he has evidently turned his attention elsewhere, they say. I will also tell you that whatever private difficulties there may have been, the parties involved were reconciled and restored years ago, for which I thank God every day. So now you want to bring God into it, really? His books with Huckabee were released in 2007. Character is the issue, and late 2009. Do the right thing inside the movement that's bringing common sense back to America. Those were the titles of the two books. It's all so nefarious. That's all I'm saying. This is all so nefarious. It's so real crazy. But let me show you the picture of this person, John Perry. Likes up, everyone. Please get the likes up. You know, I really get annoyed when they want to bring the Most High into their own bullshit. Okay, now as you can see, that's Mike Huckabee on my left, and John Perry. That's John Perry, the confessed abuser, on the right. So, you know, like I said, this seems to be a very likely motive for why Audrey Hale chose that school. Oh, so crazy. And you know, the sad thing is, if Audrey Hale had been allowed to speak against whomever traumatized them or whatever, if any of these children who were traumatized, abused, whatever, had been able to speak and talk about this publicly, if the person who did these things had been punished, maybe they wouldn't have remained so traumatized. Maybe they wouldn't have remained so traumatized. But here's the thing that I find interesting. Let's talk about how they did Bill Cosby, how they did R. Kelly, how they did Michael Jackson. You see, the thing is, when it's a person who looks like me, they don't sweep things under the rug. They're going to go digging in your closet, honey. They're not going to hide you in the closet. They're going to go digging in your closet, open it wide open, and pull out all the bones and skeletons that they can find. That's what they're going to do. And they're going to use the biggest propagandist machine, the mainstream media. They're going to use that to help further demonize you and destroy you and your legacy. That's what they will do. Harvey Weinstein. Remember what Oprah said? Remember what Oprah said about Harvey Weinstein when they asked her about him? She said, well, if we waste our time speaking about Harvey, the moment will have been lost. What moment, Oprah? That was just her way of deflecting, gaslighting, and refusing to utter a harsh word about Harvey Weinstein. And let's not forget that her friend Gail, her bestie, worked with Matt Lauer. And also, I believe she worked with Les Moonves, both of whom were accused of sexual abuse or assault. But also someone said Kobe Bryant as well. Yes, they said things about Kobe Bryant after he was deceased. They brought up those allegations. Those things were never proven to be true. And in fact, the young lady who made those allegations against him, when they tested her underwear for DNA, there was 3 different DNA in her underwear. So I'm just saying she wasn't a credible witness. So her story didn't stay the same. But they brought that up and demonified, or they tried to demify Kobe after he was gone, specifically the heir to Disney. I forget her name. Is it Victoria Disney? I forget her father was Roy C. Disney, who was the CEO. But nevertheless, she had the nerve to talk about Kobe Bryant after he passed. And the thing is this, how can she talk about anyone with the family history that she has? There have been numerous allegations against Disney for perverted things going on there. There has been numerous allegations about how police stings were conducted in Florida to catch people who were doing things, inappropriate things to children. But Disney didn't want to participate in helping with the case. They didn't want to participate. There was accusations against Walt Disney and his supposed relationship with a young boy who played Peter Pan. His last name is Driscoll. I want to say his name was Anthony Driscoll or something like that, but Bobby Driscoll. I know his last name was Driscoll, but there were allegations about all that. But she had the nerve, when her own family members have been accused of such nefarious things, she had the nerve to try to demonize and vilify Kobe Bryant after he was deceased. I just want y'all to pay attention. You all who have been following me from day one, you remember when I did that whole expose exposing Disney and their connections with the CIA, with the Disney films, specifically Alice in Wonderland, being used by the CIA in what is known as MK Ultra mind control. So she needs to sit down somewhere. She's the last one who should speak. That's all I'm saying. But this is all very sordid. My thing is this. They took every effort at that church and that school to cover up the actions of John Perry. And likely the police didn't get this information about him until 2012 because maybe they were waiting for the statute of limitations to expire so that he wouldn't be charged. But as I said, when it comes to people who look like me, such as Bill Cosby, they will absolutely change the laws so that it fits their narrative. Pay attention. All so nefarious. All so nefarious.
Why was it so important for you to?
Sorry. But anyway, let's talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. So do you all know that Kyle Rittenhouse, or Rittenhouse as I call him, you all know that Kyle Rittenhouse was chosen to educate people about guns. Say what now? How does that even make sense? How does that even make sense? But I want you all to pay attention. How they praise their criminals. That's what they do. They act as though Kyle Rittenhouse is some type of hero. But Candace Owens had the nerve to say that we are the only ones who praise our criminals. When she was speaking on George Floyd, nobody was praising George Floyd's criminal activity and conduct from the past. Nobody was explaining that. We were protesting, or we were speaking out against why he was deleted and how that occurred and how he was unarmed. His prior criminal history had nothing to do with what Derek Chauvin and those other 3 officers did to him. Had nothing to do with that. Why would she say that we were praising him? The fact that he was a criminal. Why would she even say that? Well, because she spews wanton supremacist rhetoric. And what I want you all to pay attention to is anytime there's people who look like us that spew wanton supremacist rhetoric, say the same exact talking points, push the same ideology and narratives and agendas as the wanton supremacists, these people are not for us. And I find it interesting that the same people who do not deal with Candace Owens, the same people who know that Candace Owens isn't for us, don't have that same energy for other people who do exactly what she does, like Bussy Reek. Bussy Reek spews division. He spews the wanton supremacist rhetoric. He does exactly that. Now, he may not say exactly what Candace says, but he does spew their same exact rhetoric. They call us tethers. He calls Black immigrants tethers. They want us to stay divided. He said himself that they offered him money to cause division between us and Black immigrants. Well, that's because that's their ideology. That's their agenda. So he's carrying out their agenda. Now, he can say they didn't pay him to do it, but at the end of the day, he's still doing it. So I just want you all to pay attention to that. The Bussy Reekins can say whatever they want to say. I care not. Because what they can't do is debunk anything that's being said. But so with that all being said, let's talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. Because I found this very interesting. He was supposed to be speaking at an event at a Las Vegas library. My sources in Las Vegas sent me this information because they were shocked and appalled. He was supposed to be speaking there about guns. It was an event they were holding, and they kept using the word patriot. And we all know what patriot means. Okay, that's just another word for racism. That's another word used by the wanton supremacists when they want to be racist. They hide their racism under the guise of patriotism. Pay attention. Kyle Rittenhouse to speak at a gun event at East Los Angeles Library. So they say the man who shot and deleted 2 men during a protest against police violence in Wisconsin in 2020 is scheduled to speak at a concealed carry course in Las Vegas's public library this spring. Rittenhouse, who maintained that he shot 3 men in self-defense and was later acquitted of all charges, has become a firebrand on the political front, or the political right. Firearms instructor and organizer Nefi Kaliki Olivia said that the Talkin Bout Gunz event, rebranded from Gunz in the Library, that was the first name, has drawn hundreds of messages calling for Rittenhouse's invitation to be rescinded. People don't want him there. They don't want him talking about guns, him of all people, and why should they? He told the Review Journal, that he understands why people are upset But on the other hand, the truth is we need to talk about this. Well, why do we need Carl Rittenhouse to talk about it? Why do they need him? Olivia intends for the conversation to be about steps that could be taken so that a shooting like Rittenhouse's never happens again. Saying that I don't want to retry the case, he added. I want to learn from those mistakes, educate gun owners how to avoid critical mistakes, and move on. On Facebook, Olivia wrote that there is no one in the country that has debated the pros and cons to this case more than firearms instructors around the country. If there is to be any wisdom and intelligence extracted from this tragic event, it will come from our side. Now, the course is scheduled for May the 13th at the East Las Vegas Library, which is operated by the Las Vegas Clark County Library District. Around 300 attendees are expected to pay between $114 to $199, depending if they declare themselves to be a patriot or a Democrat or Republican, according to the event's ticket page. Now, the taxpayers, the taxpayer-funded library district distanced itself from the specific event, noting that its meeting rooms are available for public rental to anyone. The upcoming Gunz in the Library event is not sponsored by the library district and does not in any way represent the views of the organization. That's what the district wrote on Twitter. Weapons, however, are not allowed at the library, they added. Now, Olivia echoed the library's point, saying that if you have issues, direct them at the source, which is me. Olivia was chastised last year for some racist remarks, for some racist slides that he represented at a Clark County Library concealed weapons course just last year, which was attended by several Republican political candidates. A firearm safety for Black people. This is what it said. A firearm safety for Black people slide had a bulleted post that said, always shoot the gun right side up. Always lick the chicken grease off your fingers before shooting. Always make sure there's a white person around so you have someone to blame for everything that goes wrong in your life. Always aim for small children to ensure you actually hit another gang member. This is what Olivia said. Clearly racist. And like I told you, when they put the word patriotism in there, we already know where that's going. Now, after the event drew public ire, the library district condemned hate speech in any form, but maintained the same position is now taking place about Rittenhouse is having a speaking, or he's the invited speaker. Now, around the time of the George Floyd situation at the hands of Minneapolis police, when racial justice protests turned into riots across the U.S. cities, Rittenhouse armed himself with a semi-automatic rifle and traveled from Illinois to Kenosha, Wisconsin. He was 17 years old at the time. He claimed that he was there to help protect property, but he was chased during the protest, fatally shooting a man who he said was following him. As the chase continued, Rittenhouse shot and deleted a man who hit him with a skateboard and then wounded a third man who approached him with a gun. Now, I love the way they paint these narratives, because the truth of the matter is, from the video footage that I have witnessed, is that Kyle Rittenhouse, that man had a skateboard attempting to hit him with it, or did hit him with it, because Kyle Rittenhouse was armed with a deadly weapon, and was moving as if he was going to do something to someone. The person with the gun who approached him, well, it was the same thing. Now, an event at the annual show in January at the Venetian that was to have featured Rittenhouse was canceled. They say, people out there don't understand how important Kyle Rittenhouse's case is. This is what Olivia said in his podcast. And for every lawful gun owner of this country, who are concealed carriers, Kyle Rittenhouse represents our worst fears and our highest hopes. That's what he had to say. So I find that very interesting. And so anyway, like I said, they were charging $114 to $199 for tickets for this mess. And it was going to be at the local library. And Rittenhouse was supposed to be the speaker. He's going to teach people about gun safety. He's going to educate people on guns. I find that all very interesting. So anyway, the event, or he, not the event, but he has been canceled as the speaker. Oh, so crazy. We see the Rittenhouse case from the perspective of CCW instructors striving to better prepare our students for concealed carry permits. We are not deaf to the sensitivities surrounding the case, and as such, we cannot continue on this path of understanding as long as greedy businessmen fan the flames of conflict to bolster the values of their clients. So in other words, that's their way of trying to justify their BS and basically saying that no one should be upset, mad, butthurt, or bothered because Kyle Rittenhouse was supposed to be giving this class. And so anyway, they say that it's canceled, or he's canceled. And I'm glad of it, quite frankly, because I don't know what they were thinking about. Why was that even necessary? But also, hold on, let me show you this video, because there's a video of a young Black woman going off on the NYPD about the protesting. Okay, back when George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, when all of that occurred, and how they were so brutal to the protesters. But meanwhile, people like Kyle Rittenhouse get off scot-free. And also, a La Mesa woman was actually blinded during those protests, and she has been awarded a settlement for $10 million. We're going to talk about that too. Let me pull up this video. Everyone, please like and share. Please don't forget to get those likes up. Thank you in advance.
Public servants, you serve at our pleasure. We buy your houses, we buy your cars, we pay for you and your wife's vacations, and the people are serving notice on the government of the United States. We are serving notice on the state of New York. We are serving notice on the mayor of this city. We are serving notice on the city council that if you do not do your job, you will no longer have a job. I live in Harlem, and I'm telling you, we are living in the middle of a crack epidemic nightmare. People need help. It is a violent circle of oppression when you create the situation, and then when we go out to protest the situation, you in turn exact more violence upon us. We are saying no more. No more. It ends here. I'm Kimberly. I am an activist and organizer. I remember the very first day I went out to protest on June 2nd, 2020. I was supposed to go out on June 1st, but I turned on my TV and I got a little scared, I have to admit. I'm not scared anymore though. But on that day I remember seeing a police officer who I now know was a member of the SRG, violently push a woman who looked like she couldn't have been more than 100 pounds to the floor, sent her body flying, and fractured her skull. I said to myself, if they're doing that to white women, I don't know what they're gonna do to me. And I took a breather, and I waited, and I went out the second day. And in that time of leading, I've led hundreds of thousands of protesters through the streets of New York City, preaching abolition, preaching against police violence. And in those 3 years of doing that, of leading those marches, of leading Black Lives Matter marches, abolish ICE marches, reproductive justice marches, I can't tell you how much violence I've seen. And the violence I've seen has not been at the hands of the people. The violence I've seen has been state-sanctioned violence from members of the NYPD, from members of the SRG. To sit before the people and say that you can't do anything about this is completely unacceptable. We are not asking you to do something about this. What we are doing is we are demanding, we are commanding you to do something about this. You work for us. We are commanding and demanding that you disband the SRG. We will no longer fund our own oppression. We will not fund our own oppression. We will not pay you to exact violence upon our communities. Remove those hundreds of millions of dollars from the SRG and put it into our schools. Fund our schools, fund our children. I live in Harlem, and I'm telling you, we are living in the middle of a crack epidemic nightmare. People need help.
Okay, shout out to her because she really went in on the NYPD as she should have, because they absolutely are nefarious as far as I'm concerned. One of the most nefarious, if not the most nefarious police department in the nation. And that is just my opinion. Okay, and yes, this woman was blinded. This wasn't just one person. If you recall, there was another woman whose skull was cracked for simply protesting. The Constitution says that you have a right to peacefully protest. I think that they sometimes seem to forget that in the divided snakes. Okay. You also have a right to freedom of speech. Okay. But freedom of speech isn't free here. That's what that is. But so there was also a news reporter, a Caucasian woman who also was blinded by one of these so-called non-lethal rubber bullets that contain pieces of shrapnel. La Mesa woman blinded in one eye during 2020 protest settles with city for $10 million. The incident took place when Leslie Frucron was attending a police brutality protest in 2020. This should never happen. This should absolutely never happen. Now, a woman was shot with a projectile and blinded in one eye during the George Floyd protest in East County 3 years ago and has reached a financial settlement with the city of La Mesa. City of La Mesa settled with Leslie Frucron, who was shot with a projectile May 30th of 2020, and they settled for $10 million. The protest in La Mesa Saturday first formed across the street from the La Mesa Police Department station. About 45 minutes later, the group split up and marched down the sidewalks of the city. Hundreds joined in on the march. As the march progressed, demonstrators, many of them holding up signs, made their way to Baltimore Drive and tried to walk onto Interstate 8. California Highway Patrol officials blocked entry to the freeway, but the crowds broke through lines and walked on both sides of I-8. Police and CHP officers diverted the traffic. As night fell, the energy of the peaceful demonstration drastically shifted. Tensions between officers and demonstrators escalated outside of LMPD headquarters, and police declared unlawful assembly. See, that's another thing. They often will declare unlawful assembly so that they can, demonize these people, because they don't want them out there protesting, because they're protesting them and their nefarious practices and actions. So I'm going to share my screen and show the news clip of the woman who won the settlements. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share.
A violent protests in La Mesa, you remember that. Well, today we learned city reached a $10 million settlement with a grandmother who was shot during those protests.
Leslie Frucron was shot with a projectile fired by a La Mesa police officer. She had to be placed in a medically induced coma for several days and lost vision in one eye. NBC7's Kelvin Henry has more on the big settlement.
Frucron's attorney says the settlement seems significant, but he says it is not considering what his client endured. And now what is significant is the passion from the people that I spoke with about their thoughts on the protests, along with what they feel Frucron is owed.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Those were the tense moments on May 30th, 2020, seconds after Leslie Frucron was shot in the head with a projectile and was lying on the ground. In a statement to NBC7, Frucron's attorney Dante Pride says Miss Leslie Frucron suffered horrific life-changing injuries at the hands of LMPD.
I wouldn't live nowhere outside of La Mesa.
Meet Wenda Wilson.
I've been in this community for a total of 9 years.
Wilson says it was an unfortunate situation.
She needed to be compensated by the city of La Mesa, yes. I mean, I felt sorry for her because she was a grandmother, like I'm a grandmother. And that being hit in the face and her losing an eye, that was an unfortunate situation.
Pride's statement addresses that point, saying, quote, upon first blush, the $10 million settlement seems like something significant and is perhaps the largest non-death excessive use of force settlement in San Diego County history. But in context of the real harm done to Ms. Furcron, the gruesomeness of which played out on Facebook Live for the entire community to witness, $10 million feels pyrrhic. Isabel Hernandez takes issue with where Furcron was shot.
Even though it was a non-lethal shot, the fact that it was shot in a place that a lot of people would only shoot there simply to hurt someone, like in a way of ending their life.
According to the shot placement guide, the areas in red are potentially lethal areas. In a statement to NBC7, La Mesa city manager says the city is glad that there is a resolution to this very unfortunate incident. One person I spoke with who did not wish to go on camera says she hopes this is a learning lesson and where hopefully we can avoid a similar situation in the future where someone is injured. But for now, reporting in La Mesa, Kelvin Henry, NBC7.
Furcron's attorneys say they're going to be holding a news conference on Monday to release more details about the settlement.
That's just all so crazy. That woman should never have been shot. That should never have happened. Okay. A shout out to Sean from The Shy. Also, I removed, what's the person's name? Twin Techie. I put Twin Techie out of my chat. I don't know who they were talking about. Whether they were talking about me or the person on the video, but they were saying something about that mammy doesn't represent us. I don't know who they were talking about, but I put them out of here. And I keep saying that if you don't like the commentary, you don't like what the queen is cooking, then why are you coming in here? Like, it's really sick. At this point, you're a stalker. If you go into someone's chat, and I find it interesting because here's the thing, I want you all to pay attention. When people expose certain people and, show receipts on them, certain people will say that those people who are exposing them are obsessed. Those people are stalking them. No, the stalkers, beloveds, the stalkers are the people who get upset because people say what they say. You see, we have a right to freedom of speech. If you don't like what someone is saying, just simply avoid them. Don't go into their chat. But if you know that you don't like what someone has to say, but you go into their chat anyway, you go into their platforms anyway, you come into their channels anyway, then you're the stalker. You're the stalker. You're the one that's obsessed. You see, when they try to say that people are obsessed with a person because they're exposing this person, no, actually, the ones that are obsessed are the ones who are trying to go in on the people doing the exposing, or for people that they don't even know in real life. If you don't, these are nothing but obsessed fans. I want you all to pay attention. Many of these people on the internet are nothing more than obsessed fans. You know how the Beehive goes along with whatever Beyonce says or does, whether she's right, wrong, or indifferent? That's who these people are. Obsessed fans. The word fan is short for the word fanatic. They're fanatics. Some of these people are fanatics. And so when you speak on people that they worship, because they engage in idolatry, you see, they worship other people, not the Most High. They worship other people. And so when they worship these people because they're fanatics, because they have mental issues, because only fanatics, people who are fanatics, they have mental issues. I don't care what anyone says. It's true. They have mental health issues. They're not playing with a full deck, because people that play with a full deck do not ever, under any circumstances, continue to get in people's chats, come on people's channels, follow people on other platforms, just to harass them about people that they never even met in real life. It's not like they're trying to defend their family members, their siblings, mothers, fathers, any of those people. It's not like they're trying to defend themselves even. They're trying to defend people whom they know nothing of. They literally think they know people simply from watching and viewing them on social media. And so when people show them truth about these things, about these people that they don't want to hear, they want to get angry and mad, and so much so that they'll threaten you. They'll try to do all kinds of things, and it's really crazy. And you know why it's crazy? Because they're crazy. Because they're crazy. That's what they are. They're crazy. That's just not a euphemism. They're literally crazy. No one can convince me otherwise. If you spend your time, energy, and efforts in your day, see, here's the thing that's interesting. You know, when I take time out of my day to go gather receipts on someone to expose them, and or when Taharka Bey takes time out of his day to go gather receipts and expose someone, it's very interesting that people will say that we're stalking and all of that or whatever. Oh, you're not done yet? Oh, you still doing videos? Well, you're still in the chat. You're still on the channel. You're still following us on other platforms. What's wrong with you? You see, we have a logical explanation for why we're doing what we're doing. First of all, we're content creators and we bring the news. And sometimes that news entails exposing people whom we deem as fraudulent. But if you are following us and demanding that we answer to you as to why we're doing what we're doing, but you don't ask any questions of the person or people that you're trying to defend so relentlessly, then something is wrong with you. If I know that someone is going to be doing live streams, posting videos on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, if I know that this person has a habit of speaking on topics or people that I don't care to listen to, I'm not going to follow them. I'm not going to hop in their chats. I'm not going to go on any of their platforms because I don't want to hear what they have to say. But if you do come on their platforms, that means you do want to hear what they have to say. And if you want to hear what someone has to say, even though you know you're not going to like it, something's wrong with you. There is something wrong with you. No matter what they say, you're absolutely insane. You're a fanatic. You're obsessed. You're an obsessed fan. And I want those of you who don't realize how dangerous these people are to pay attention, because it was an obsessed fan who shot President Reagan back in 1981, a person who was obsessed with the actress Jodie Foster. It was an obsessed fan who murdered John Lennon. Obsessed fans are dangerous. So when they are out here making threats, hopping in chats, going on your Twitter, going on your Instagram, leaving nasty comments, trying to dox you, when they're doing all of these things, it's because they're sick in the head. Because only people who are sick in the head and suffering from some type of mental issues would be doing these things. And those people are absolutely dangerous. I hope they don't have guns. These people are absolutely sick. And I just want you all to pay attention. So I said all that to say this. When they try to say that people are clout chasing when you're exposing people, that's not a clout chase. You see, a clout chase benefits you. A clout chase is what you do to get more views. A clout chase is what you do to make more money. A clout chase is what you do to catapult yourself higher than you are. But when you're exposing people, specifically people who have large platforms and who are widely known and very popular, how is that a clout chase? Because very often you will be demonized and vilified. Very often you will be threatened. Very often you will lose viewers and subscribers. And so with that all being said, it's not a clout chase, and they know it's not a clout chase. That's just the only thing they can say to deflect and gaslight. As I said, they were quick to come on Twitter and say, oh, that's not the full clip. It's context. You're sensationalizing. And they were right. It wasn't the full clip. I wasn't purposely sensationalizing, but whoever initially posted the video didn't post the whole context of what was being said. Even though Bussy Rick was clearly giving a dog whistle to his people, even though he later said it was verbally blasting that he was talking about, he did so because he was likely trying to cover up or clean up what he'd previously said. But nonetheless, they were quick to point that out, but they don't try to debunk ever any of the other receipts. And that's because they absolutely unequivocally know those receipts to be true. You see, the problem is that they want people like me and Taharka and others who expose Bussy Rick and other people that they love. They just want us to shut up. They just want us to stop telling the truth. If we were telling lies, they would always point out the lies, like they did about that video. They would always point out these things, but they can't because they know it's true. And they don't mind that it's true. They just want us to stop talking about it and drawing attention to it. Just let their grifters grift in peace. That's what they want, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, you see. And no matter how many threats, no matter how many nasty messages, no matter how many viewers or views I lose, no matter how many subscribers I lose, I'm going to continue to do the work because that's what this is all about. This is all about doing the work. This is all about helping my people. This is about doing things in the best interest of my people. Another thing is they always want to ask us, what are you doing for Black people? Well, here's the thing, and I want you all to pay attention because someone brought this to my attention. I wasn't even thinking about this, but someone brought this to my attention. They said, Queen, they're always trying to ask you and Taharka Bey what you're doing for Black people. They said, when you get on your platform and you educate and inform people of what is going on with their community, when you talk about stories that affect your community, that's something that you're doing. You're not on here talking about celebrity gossip. You're talking about relevant and pertinent things. That's what you're doing. They said, what is the difference in you getting on your platform and discussing these issues and Bussy Rick holding a rally to talk about the same issues? What's the difference? There is none. There is none, except that I do much more extensive research. Taharka does much more extensive research than most. So, 13th Black Cat said, clout chasers befriend people they try to get clout from. Yes, absolutely, beloved. Absolutely, that's what they do. You see that? That makes perfect sense. Clout chasers befriend or try to get close to the people they want to use for clout. Now they'll tell me, oh, you're just using Tyreek's name in the title because you're trying to do it for clout. That's not doing anything for clout. As soon as I use his name in a title, all of his little minions come and try to come for me. How's that getting clout? It isn't. You see, the people who want clout from him are the people who try to back up and defend everything they say, even though they know that he's dead wrong. They try to make excuses for the things that have been exposed about him. Like when he said he would F the shot out of Brooke Hogan. They say, oh, that was years ago. Why does it matter how long ago it was? He still said it. He was an adult. He wasn't a child. It wasn't 20, 30 years ago. It was a few years ago, no more than 5. And he's in his 50s. So he was well into his adulthood when he said it. They tried to make excuses when he said that Black women who are single mothers should not get reparations. They try to excuse that. They don't ask him why he said it. They don't ask him why he said something in that book, The Mac Lessons. They don't ask him why he said that 14-year-old girls, you can tell they're going to be whores and prostitutes. Why would a grown man say that? Why would you even be looking at them in that term or in that way? They don't ask him about that, but they'll ask me what I'm doing for Black people. Why don't you ask him some questions? Stop trying to question us and start questioning the people that you so desperately try to defend when there's nothing that you can defend because you have no receipts. And that's why they come out and say, oh, you're a hater. Oh, you're mad. They always say the same thing. I want you all to pay attention. They're nothing but parrots. They say the same thing over and over and over. You're a hater. You're obsessed. You still doing the videos. Sounds like jealousy to me. That's all they ever say. You know who the real haters are? The real haters are the ones who oppose the people that are speaking the truth. And the reason they're haters is because they don't want to hear the truth. They hate the truth because you see, the truth does not suit their narrative. It does not suit their narrative. And so they hate the truth. That's what that is. Now, if I were exposing someone who they didn't like, didn't care about, they would be perfectly fine with it. They would cheer me on. That's what they would do because they've done it. They've absolutely done it. Some of my own subscribers who stopped following me because they were so mad, Harlem Brown, Rain Love. Those are two of my subscribers who stopped following me because they were mad and butthurt and bent out of shape because of what I was saying about Bussy Rick. I don't care. Screw them. I never needed them in my chats. And anyone else who felt some type of way and stopped following the queen, I don't care. You all know that because whether I have 2 subscribers or 200,000 subscribers, I'm going to still put in the same work because that's what I do. That's what I do. They can say what they want to say about the queen, but what they can never say is that I'm a grifter, a fraud, that I ever ask them for anything. I don't go out here begging for donations for anything. They always want to know what I'm doing for Black people. Whatever I'm doing, I do it at my own expense. I'll tell you that much. So they can miss me with it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, with that all being said, that crazy beach area said never unsubscribe. Thank you, beloved. Lillian X said queen is the truth. Thank you, beloved. Okay, and I love you right, Black Book Horse DC. So with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Please like and share this video. Subscribe to the channels if you have not done so already. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Hey, Alexa, play Gold All in My Skin by Queen Ahmadiyyah. Okay, so with that all being said, you know, some of us are putting in real work. Christopher said the queen never asked for money. Absolutely. I never have, nor will I ever. Anything I need to do, I will fund it myself. And that's just a fact. Okay. So with that all being said, everyone, please like and share, subscribe to the channels. Don't forget to click the notification bell, click the word all. If you're mad, unsubscribe. You already know I've told you 1,000 times. And it's so nonsensical to me and obtuse when people get in here complaining and whining and crying. What I've already said at the top of the broadcast, just leave. Exit stage left. I'm not the clout chaser. They are. So I will be back on live this evening because I have some very interesting news about the Lakeith Smith case. I'm going to be talking about that this evening. So make sure you tune back in at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure Mr. Hotel says Queen has a new ebook. Yes, I do. For those of you who follow me on the spiritual channel, who have the self-elevating memberships and who have the higher frequency memberships, if I have not sent you the new ebook, because I give you all a free ebook every month. And so if you have not gotten your ebook, the new one is called The Nefarious Royal Vegan Smoothie. Okay, it's a book of, it's a bunch of smoothie recipes. Okay, to boost your energy and all of that. It's very good recipe. So I'm going to send it to you. If I have not sent it to you, let me know. There was 2 people whose email I did not have. And so I didn't send you yours yet. Please send me your emails. Okay. Honey 69 was one. I believe that I have Honey 69's email, but I don't remember what the email is. So Honey 69, if you're listening, please send me your email and put on there that it's from Honey 69, because that's what I know you by. So if you sent the email to me before and it's got a different name, I don't remember what it is, beloved. And also, There was another person, Cassandra Winters. Cassandra Winters, please send me your email so that I can send you your free ebook. I've sent them to those of you. I think I've sent them to everyone else. Whomever didn't get them, please send me an email and let me know. And for those of you that follow me on the spiritual channel, I'll be live on there today at some point. I'm not sure what time, but I'm going to do a members only live on there today. I will be posting a video for everyone else on that follows the spiritual channel, but I will also be doing an exclusive members only live today. Okay. And so with that all being said, any of you who want to purchase the smoothie ebook, you can get the book for $8. So just let me know that you want it. That's for the non-members. For members on the channel who don't have those levels of membership to get the book for free, you can purchase it at a discounted price for $5. Okay, $5 for the other memberships. Okay, for my Rising Vibes members, right? And the my other members, I forget the name of the other members. Sorry. But you all know who I'm talking about. Those of you that have the $2.99 and the $6.99 memberships, you can get the ebook for $5. Anyone else that's not a member, you can get it for $8. With that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen.